Okay, the exterior angle inequality theorem. Okay, do you remember back when we had this x is equal to y plus z, which was the this exterior angle sum theorem? So x is equal to y and z. Add those two together, you get x. Well, if x is equal to y plus z, that means x is greater than y and x is greater than z. Right? If angles can't be negative. So if I have one that is the sum of two of them, then the two that it added up to make the big one have to be smaller than the big one. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, cool. So that's what that one means. If one side of a triangle is longer than another side, okay, so here I have a triangle. We're going to call this side A, we'll call this side B, and we'll call this side C. No, maybe I shouldn't use those because that's Pythagorean. J and, P and Z? Okay. If J is bigger, no, sorry, P would be bigger than J. Okay, P is bigger than J. Okay, so P is longer than J. Then the measure of the angle opposite. So if we go opposite P, we get this angle over here. I'm going to call that angle 1. And if we go opposite J, we're going to get this angle over here. I'm going to call that angle 2. Okay? If P is bigger than J, if P is bigger than J, then angle 1 is going to be bigger than angle 2. Okay, then it goes the opposite way too. So if I have a triangle here, and I call this angle 1 and this angle 2, if angle 1 is bigger than angle 2, angle 1 is across from side Q, and angle 2 is across from side R. We'll just say if angle 1 is bigger, then that means Q is going to be longer than R. So the way it works out is the biggest side is across from the biggest angle. The smallest side is across from the smallest angle, and then the medium side is across from the medium angle. Good? The triangle inequality theorem, this states that if I take a triangle and I add two sides together, that's always going to be bigger than the third side. And it has to be, and here's why. Let's say this side is 10, and I wanted to make this side 2 and this side 6. 2 plus 6 is 8, which is less than 10. But if I fold these down, 6 would come this far, 2 would come that far, and I'd have this gap. They won't touch unless they're longer than the third side. I mean, and if you think about it, if they were the same length as the third side even, like let's say these are the two sides and they're the same length as the third side, if I brought them up at all, they're not going to touch anymore. So in order to be a triangle, two sides, any two sides, always have to be bigger than the third side when you add them together, not individually. So x plus y is going to be greater than z, or x plus z is going to be greater than y, or y plus z is going to be greater than x. Okay. We have the side angle side inequality theorem, which says if two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another, and the included angle, so the angle between them, is bigger than the other triangle, then the third side of the first is longer than the third side of the other. This is also known as hinge theorem. So basically it says this: if I have two triangles, okay, and this side is the same as these sides, but angle 1 is bigger than angle 2. Okay, so angle 1 is going to be greater than angle 2. Then side x and side y, x will be bigger than y. Again, that follows back to the compass, the opening thing. Okay, you guys will agree that these are the same size? Ignore the pen. These are the same size, right? So if I open this one this much, and I open this one this much, and they were to connect to make a third side of a triangle, the bigger angle is going to make the bigger third side. Make sense? That's all this is saying. If I have two sides that are same, but the angle in the middle is not the same, then the third sides are not the same. And the bigger angle produces the bigger third side. Not too bad. It's kind of logical. I hate it when I do that. Hold on, this one's saying if two sides of one triangle are congruent to two sides of another, and then the third side is longer than the third side of the other. So basically it's the same thing. It's just instead of saying if the bigger angle makes the bigger side, they're saying the bigger side makes the bigger angle. So I could draw basically the same pictures. If this side is the same as this side, and this side is the same as this side, and I have x and y, if x is bigger than y, then angle 1 will be bigger than angle 2. So they're saying the same thing. It's just one is saying bigger angle makes a bigger side, and the other one's saying a bigger side makes a bigger angle. But they're the same, and that's why it's called, and when you put them together is when you get the hinge theorem. And the hinge theorem is basically if you say that this is a hinge, how big you open it determines how big the third side is. So the triangle has a little opening, it's got a little side if it, compared to the next one which has a bigger opening. Can these be the lengths of a side of a triangle? Okay, now to be the lengths of a side of a triangle, any two I add have to be bigger than the third. So 3 plus 4 has to be bigger than 5. 4 plus 5 has to be bigger than 3, and 3 plus 5 has to be bigger than 4. Are all of those true? Yes. So the answer is yes. Not too bad. So anytime I give you three numbers and say, can this be a triangle, you add two, add them in pairs, and they have to be bigger than the third one. Okay. Let's try another one. Okay, let's look at this one. So this is for A, this is for B, this is for C, and this is for D, okay? Which is the biggest angle? That's the biggest side. The biggest side will be across from the biggest angle. Angle B. So you go across from the biggest side and you'll find the biggest angle. Okay. Identify the shortest side. First we need to know all three angles. So a triangle adds up to 180. So I take 180 and I subtract 59 and 58. And that gives me 63. So this angle here is 63. So the smallest side is going to be across from the smallest angle. Smallest angle, smallest side. You just go across. Okay, which side is longer, AB or BC? Well, okay. What I have is an isosceles triangle, the big triangle here. So if this is 32 and this is 32, that makes this also 46. Okay. So at 46 and 51, I can find this right here. So I take 51 and 46 and I subtract them from 180. And I get 83. Now this makes a straight line, which is also 180. So I do 180 minus 83. And I'm going to get 97. Now I use the 46 and the 97 to find this missing angle here. So I do 180 minus 46 and 97, and I get 37. Did that make sense, how I got the angles? Okay, because these are both 32, that makes these both 46. I needed that to start. Okay, 51 and 37. 51 is across from AB, 37 is across from BC. So which one's bigger? AB or BC? Which one's going to be bigger? The angle across from, or the side across from 51 or the side across from 37? 51. So AB is going to be bigger. Okay, here, and the reason this works is because they're sharing this side, so we have two sides that are the same. Angle 1 is across from 16, and angle 2 is across from 15. So which angle is bigger, angle 1 or angle 2? Angle 1.